the definitive guide to dazzling in French. Hi and welcome to 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes. Bonjour et bienvenue à 5 Minutes French Grammar Fixes. Today I am going to suggest a list of words and structures that you could use to impress your teacher, your examiner, or simply your French friends. Donc aujourd'hui, je vais vous donner une liste de vocabulaire et de structures que vous pourriez utiliser pour impressionner votre prof ou votre examinateur ou tout simplement vos amis français. Whether you are studying for French GCSE or IGCSE or simply trying to improve your written French, here's a mnemonic that is not mine. I found it a long time ago somewhere on the net, but it's a really good way to remember all the things you need to incorporate to sound more sophisticated. So it's called Noralad, and each letter stands for something that you need to remember to include in your writing or even in your speaking. So N for negatives, O for opinions, R for reasons, A for adjectives, L for links, A for adverbs, and T for tenses. So here is a list of common negatives, and remember that these words go around your verb unless your verb is made up of two parts, in which case you would have to put your negative words around the first part, which we call the auxiliary. This is what happens, for instance, if you've got a sentence in the past tense, like in this example I've given you, je n'ai jamais eu de petit boulot, I've never had a little job, and you can see that your ne jamais is around the AI, which is the first part of your verb, the second part being eu, okay? Okay, here's a list of common opinions. You probably already know j'aime or j'aime bien, which is more common in fact. Je n'aime pas, j'adore, je déteste. And I've given you some other ways of expressing exactly the same sort of things. Have a look at ce que je déteste, which can also be expressed by ce dont j'ai horreur. And likewise, instead of saying j'aime la nourriture en France, you could say ce qui me plaît en France, c'est la nourriture. Reasons, and what I mean by reasons is basically justifying your opinions, and therefore you're going to need little words like parce que or car, they both mean because, or puisque, du moment que, etc. So you have to grab opportunities to combine several star features, as I like to call them, in one sentence. For example, you can combine, negatives, opinions, and reasons, like in this sentence. Je ne vais jamais à l'école le samedi parce que le samedi, c'est pour le sport. Okay, adjectives, in other words, describing words. So make a list of adjectives for each topic that you have to study. The richer your vocabulary, the more impressive you will sound. So I've given you some examples. Instead of just saying mon frère est casse-pied, just give two adjectives. Mon frère est casse-pied et égoïste. So one of the ways to pile in adjectives in a sentence is, of course, using link words, in other what we call technically connectives. So, as in this example, ma sœur est intelligente, drôle et sympa, mais maniaque aussi. Okay, so I've given you a list of common connectives, just like in English there are loads and loads of them, but these are probably the most useful ones. Okay, become even more sophisticated by also incorporating adverbs, intensifiers, and usually they go in front of an adjective, like in English, apart from the ones that are made up of several words. So I've given you a list here, again, of quite common ones. Finally, tenses. This is probably the feature that really does tell whoever's listening to you or reading you how fluent you are in a language, and you really need to be using different tenses to impress whoever it is you need to impress, your teacher, your examiner, even your friends. Okay, so here's a text where I'm showing off the use of different tenses, and obviously all these other features we've just talked about. So I'll just read it for you and then just take a moment to have a look at it properly to spot all these different features we've talked about. Okay, here we go. J'ai une amie qui s'appelle Emily et que j'aime bien parce qu'elle est super sympa et drôle. En plus, elle est très sportive comme moi. Par contre, elle n'est pas très créative. Moi, je le suis plus. On s'est rencontrés au primaire et on ne se perdra jamais de vue, c'est sûr. On pourrait dire qu'elle est comme une sœur pour moi tellement on est proches. Okay, so if you need a little bit of work on these different features that are mentioned here, like adjectives or adverbs, you can check my 5 minutes French grammar fixes, adjective agreements, position, adverbs, etc. I've also done a presentation on how to dazzle even more, and in particular in the context of the IB or the A-level examinations.